All right, everyone, good evening, and thank you for joining another virtual Highlandtown Community Association General Meeting. I am President Nick Curley, joined by Vice President Vanessa Bennett co-hosting, and we are here tonight to do our best to share information that we and the board believe is useful and to connect members of the community to other members of the community. So thanks for being here. We'll try and keep this meeting focused and on topic and positive. To begin tonight's meeting, I'd just like to ask the members of the HCA board, starting with Michael Dorsey, if they'd like to report out. Mike, if you would be willing to share any updated information from your role as treasurer, and if you have a garden update, I think we'd appreciate that.
Don't really have anything to report as far as treasury is concerned. We're pretty static this year, considering all things, but we are working as a finance committee to come up with new processes that are transparent and fair and will facilitate the funding of projects in the community that'll lead to a greater quality of life improvement all around. Two things along the gardens front. One, we're waiting and very close to hearing back from the Baltimore Community Foundation. We wrote a grant to them to finish all the improvements to the garden, including retaining walls or retaining boundaries to keep the dirt in, new topsoil, new seed for grass, and a lot of beautification elements to the fence itself as it heads around that corner. The other update is we've been invited to be partners with the Creative Alliance, Friends of Patterson Park, Southeast CDC, for the garden to be a host site of a concert on Halloween at the end of the lantern parade that usually goes around Patterson Park, but it's going to instead end in the garden, 6:30 on Halloween night. That's all I have.
Outstanding. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, and just so you guys know, I mean, to reemphasize Mike's opening comments, the Finance Committee has been working to ensure that we're complying with our bylaws, and Mike has done a great job completing our financial reports that were due for the website. So we are fully compliant with our own bylaws currently and are actively working to ensure ongoing compliance through updated reporting and other steps we're taking just to keep our financial house in order. So Mike's done great work there, and I'm really grateful for it. So thanks for that, Mike. All right, other board reports. Vanessa, do you want to lead with any of the topics we just discussed in the board meeting?
So BG&E offered to donate to the Highlandtown Community Association some funds for doing some project to help with a community project. So I was going to reach out to them to see what that looks like as far as the donation, get specific information. We talked about some ideas of some traffic calming, some street painting, just some general beautification projects. So if anybody else has any ideas, feel free to share them, and I'll report back with the details from BG&E once I find that out.
Outstanding, thank you. Just quick notes, Amanda, someone in chat is asking, when is the lantern parade? If you can make sure to address that when we get to your section, I'd appreciate it. Matt from the liquor board is in the room and has posted his contact information as well as a very pleasant greeting to chat. So if you're here with concerns about liquor board issues, please scroll through the chat and you will find that Matt's information is there for your perusal. Amanda noted she will be doing that, and it's on the 31st. Thank you so much, everyone. Back to board updates, just trying to stay on top of everything. Brian, can you give me a thumbs up if you want to jump in with updates? Was that a no?
I do not have anything to offer at this time.
Outstanding. Thanks, Brian. Anyone else on the board want to jump in with updates? As you can see, during a global pandemic, our community association has been a hotbed of activity, and we're having trouble keeping the lid on things. Well, all right, in the absence of any other feedback from HCA board members, I will just mention that we have just discussed and are moving forward with some plans to make sure that this coming winter, I guess our January elections are coming up, and insanely, that's not terribly far around the corner, and we'll be doing all of that digitally through Zoom this year. So stay tuned. We will be using historical mailing lists with your email addresses. So if you are a member of the HCA, we will be sending you information to inviting you to vote or participate in our voting specific meetings. So stay tuned for updates there. All right. I'm going to move us right into our invited guests then, starting with Professor David Bishai with D1 CAN. And what I'm going to do is switch on screen sharing, everyone, and I'm going to play a 4.5-minute long video that Professor Bishai prepared for tonight. And then he is present and will take questions from the floor after the video shows. So let's try and turn on screen sharing. You ever do that and then that toolbar shows up right where you want your mouse to be? Yeah, that happens. All right.
Nick, I can't hear anything. I think the sound is in your earbuds.
Okay, you guys said no sound? Sorry. Okay, no sound?
No sound.
All right, at any point, could you hear sound from his video?
No.
All right. This again. Okay, share screen.
Hello, my name is Professor David Bishai. I'm speaking to you here in October of 2020 about the topic of influenza vaccination in Baltimore. I'm a professor at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. I'm also participating in the District 1 Community Health Action Network, or D1 CAN. We're a group of community neighbors and...
How about then?
Yep. Yeah, we could hear it then, yes.
Okay, I'm going to resume the share and play. Thank you, everyone. Sorry for the clunkiness.
Residents of Southeast Baltimore that want to work together with our neighbors to improve public health in our part of the city. So first question, why are we talking about the flu vaccine now? Well, flu spreads and it kills 35,000 Americans almost every single year. And there is a safe and effective vaccine that we've had for years, something we can do something about. Furthermore, this year with COVID-19 around, the last thing you want to have is a fever and a cough and respiratory symptoms. And there's a vaccine to help stop that. So one thing that we can do to stop worrying about flu is to get vaccinated for it. Now, many people still have questions about the flu vaccine. Coverage has never been what we wanted. And a place to answer those questions obviously should be your pharmacy or doctor's office, but also what neighbors have to say about the flu vaccine can make a big difference in the motivation to even begin to think about it. City Health Department has a flu vaccine campaign this year with the goal of reaching 70% of the residents of Baltimore with flu vaccine. So obviously we want to prepare for COVID-19 vaccine interventions later, and getting our act together now can go a long way in getting COVID-19 vaccine into the community. We have a long way to go on flu vaccine. Historically, we are nowhere close to 70%. These are bar graphs showing coverage by age group. On the left, we see children getting 49% coverage. On the far right, we see seniors getting 34% coverage. In the middle are the 19 to 35-year-olds getting only 15% coverage. Now, this won't do if we want to get herd immunity for any disease. And with COVID-19, all of these bars need to get up to about 70% for us to get out of this pandemic. So we need to get our act together, build the muscles required to get vaccinations out to people who need them. Southeast Baltimore has led the way in the past. The green dot over Southeast Baltimore shows that 37% of Southeast Baltimore residents were covered for flu vaccine last year. That's great, but we have to do better and we have to make more progress. Right now, as of October 12th, 2020, only 8% of Baltimore residents have received influenza vaccine. We want to get flu vaccine coverage up high now. This is a dress rehearsal. We need to have neighbors and friends be a place to get our preliminary questions answered, get the motivation going. We have to find ways to reach people who are not children with messages about vaccines and finding out who's not being covered. Right now, we're discovering that with our flu vaccine campaign, the state registry called Immunet is not being notified every time somebody gets the flu vaccine. So one first start is for all of us, when we go and get vaccinated, ask your healthcare provider or your pharmacist, hey, are you registering my vaccination with Immunet? Are you registering my vaccination with the state? We've got to get the pressure on so that people who are immunizing, good for them, but they have to report to the state, because when we're vaccinated against COVID-19, we have to know where the gaps are and who's being missed. So the community is a part of a flu vaccine campaign. We want to gather ourselves safely on Zoom or WebEx, talk about our questions and concerns, offer science-informed answers about how vaccines work and whether they're safe and effective, and troubleshoot access problems. If there's a group that is having trouble safely acquiring vaccines, we need to know about that right away. We need to know about our concerns and obstacles now. So I wanted to flag the city's current flu vaccine promotion efforts on social media. They've got an active Twitter feed with some Baltimore-based promotional materials. Please tune into their Twitter feed, follow them on Twitter, like them on Facebook. They're doing their part. Here we are in D1Ken. We have our website. You can tweet to me at @dbashai and join our Facebook group. We really need to work together to get our muscles strong to deliver flu vaccine now and hopefully COVID-19 vaccine next year.
So thank you very much, Professor Bashai, for sharing that video with us. And if you could jump in and take any questions.
Sure, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to try and figure out where that's coming from.
As of today, code 21224 is leading the city with 12.6% coverage. So we don't know why you guys are so ahead. 12.6 is the leading number in the city, but it could be higher. And women are 3 to 2 times more likely to get vaccinated than men. Go women of Baltimore. You're ahead, but we're still having a gap getting the men. And as far as age groups go, the young people, working people are not getting covered. Now, there's a map I'm going to put in the chat box. The City Health Department has a map of places to get the flu. And historically, pharmacies are where Baltimoreans go to get vaccinated. And CVS, Rite Aid, they all have got vaccines. They'll take insurance. And the city's website has a map of all of the places to go get vaccinated. But I'm open for questions.
I have a question or a comment. 6 years ago, I got my first flu vaccine, and less than a week later, I was in the hospital for 3 days with flu. And I haven't gotten a vaccination since, and I haven't had the flu since. Has that been looked at over the past 6 years?
Jack, that's a great question. I don't know how many times I hear that from individuals who have a story that they got a flu-like illness after they got the flu. And so that is a story that you'll hear again and again. The thing is, Jack, that when we actually test people with that story, we'll find that typically what felt like the flu didn't actually test as the same strain that the flu vaccine covered. Every year, we cover only a subset of all the possible strains of flu,
Okay.
and it's still possible to get a different strain of the flu. The flu vaccine is not a live virus. It doesn't have the living thing that can give you an active disease. So it cannot give you the flu, and it doesn't protect you from every strain. So I know, obviously who wouldn't think that I got the shot, then I got sick. It must have been the shot that made me sick. Yet when you do the microbiology of what was the actual virus that got to you, it probably was not the flu that was being covered by the antigen. But I understand where you're coming from. I mean, who wouldn't put it together that way?
Thank you.
Great question, Jack. What other questions do we have from the floor for Professor Bishai?
I'm just curious.
Oh. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Sorry. I'm just curious about what kind of efforts can be made to bring the skeptics along. There are a lot of people who are reluctant to get any kind of vaccines. The anti-vaxxer crowd, clearly they're not getting on board, and there's no danger, but we don't get herd immunity without, a fairly high percentage. So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, it's a concerted effort, which is why social media and neighborhood associations are part of that. Hearing from people like you about the flu vaccine is really one way to defend against skepticism, and hearing from the medical community about the flu vaccine. We've got a lot of confidence. We're seeing this now. Twice as many Baltimore Health Department vaccines than citizens are trusting the flu. So if the medical profession's trusting it with their own bodies, that's something. So that says something. But I think neighbors need to bring it up. I'd like to see religious communities, faith communities, make it normal to trust. This vaccine is old and known and safe. And if we really need to practice now with trusting the flu. So bring it up with your friends. If you're somebody who's believed in the flu, you need to spread that behavior through your own example. Don't get vaccinated silently. Wear a tag, wear a button, tweet that you are getting vaccinated against flu. If you spread that to your own social community, you spread that good example. And believe me, flu today, but COVID-19 tomorrow. The vaccine, we're waiting to hear about the phase 3 trials. It would be a tragedy if it comes out, it's safe and effective and could have gotten us out of this. And yet because we didn't believe the science, Americans just wasted a year or 2 years or more not getting out of COVID-19 simply because of a trust issue. We build trust by our common experience and conversations with our friends and neighbors, as well as the medical profession.
So Professor Bishai, I've got a question. I mean, perhaps this is cynical, but I feel necessary nonetheless. Like, can you expound upon what kind of guardrails exist between the nuts and bolts of vaccine research and clinical trials and the external political interference that may seek to gain short-term advantage by manipulating or sharing false narratives or otherwise interfering with what would ideally be kind of a air-gapped process?
Yeah, Nick, I'll tell you that a lot of the medical community had the exact same skepticism. And thankfully, the leaders of the NIH and FDA are starting to hear that we ourselves as doctors are skeptical of exactly your concern. Recently on a conference call with the head of the NIH, Francis Collins, head of the FDA, and the head of Operation Warp Speed, they all said right to our camera that they would resign their jobs if they felt any pressure to rush through the end of the phase 3 trials. Not only that, you are seeing phase 3 clinical trials stop right now. They're putting an end to their trial because of the slightest safety concern. This is restoring my faith, hearing the leaders look me in the eye or look at me in the camera and say, look, there's something more important than me keeping my job, and I would never jeopardize the safety of the vaccine safety trial. So I do believe these men, and I'm hearing that they're stopping trials now, and that's a great sign. Tragically, it slows it down, but that's exactly what you want to see.
I can't figure out how to raise my hand, so I'm just going to interject. We've heard about the trials that have been stopped, and is that really an accurate description? Because it sounds like, you know, that wasn't successful and we've stopped it. And I feel like a more accurate term would be to say we've hit a bump in the road, which is, you know, why you do trials anyway. So that's not a problem. That's actually a sign that things are going properly. And we've hit a bump in the road, and we're taking a pause while we do some research and regroup. I really don't like the term stop because it implies that there's a failure along the way.
Yeah, Brian, you're right. The right word to use is pause, because it will only be a stop if after they look into what happens is one of the people in the trial develops a symptom, a weird rash or an achy joint, reports it to their local treatment center. Once there's notification of that, it goes to a safety monitoring board that is not blinded. Only the safety monitoring board knows whether they got the placebo or the vaccine. The safety monitoring board then says either pause, which is the right term, and then after the pause, they'll look into it, say, you know, was this plausibly a sign that the vaccine is so dangerous that we can't give it to anybody from now on? Or this is just a reasonable thing. And then if it's a reasonable thing, they'll unpause and keep going on with the trial. But if it looks like a real danger and that data is so compelling, 1 or 2 or 3 case reports, then they will turn the pause into a stop and say, this is just too dangerous. Now, rarely does that happen in a phase 3 trial, because you don't get to phase 3 without a phase 1 and a phase 2, which should have alerted you that there was a real danger in the vaccine. So they've only built up to these large 30,000, 60,000 phase 3 trials after the smaller ones where you'll get the bugs out of the system beforehand.
Outstanding. Thank you, Professor. So are there any other questions from the floor for Professor Bishai?
Yeah, I had a question actually, if you don't mind, Nick.
Please do, Mark.
Professor, my question for you is based on the last thing you said, which is, if we start to see, to Brian's question, in some of the phase 3 trials that there are some of these major adverse events taking place, would that be evidence that we might have moved to that phase 2 swiftly? Or would it just be anecdotal and not necessarily something to take a larger assumption from?
Yeah, Mark, thank you for that question. On the conference call that I was on, they were talking about this point. The way to make more safety is to let the phase 3 trial go longer. Now, they talked about it. This is a major pandemic. Should we give this trial the extra 4 weeks, which means we're more likely to see rare events? Or should we say, look, it's a pandemic, the 4 weeks aren't worth it? And the scientist in charge made the call on our behalf that it was better to make the trial longer, even though it would delay the timing for the vaccine. Now, the phase 1 and 2 trials did save a little time by being combined. The phase 1 trial, in an ordinary year, this would have all taken 5 years. And it's crazy that it can happen in 1 year. But the way they shaved off time was to do the phase 1 and the phase 2 trials in parallel, and that gave them extra time. They did both the safety trial in the phase 1, as well as the human subpopulation, which better in men and women, better in old and young. They were solving that question at the same time, exposing a couple hundred people to the vaccine. A little bit dangerous for those couple hundred, but it did offer them the extra time. So as far as skimping on the phase 1, phase 2, they haven't skimped, but they did them in parallel. And now the phase 3 trial is going on for extra time for the extra safety, but not the extra speed. So that's the decision that they made.
Outstanding. Thank you again. Professor, in the absence of any other questions, I guess we'll give it a second here, but if no one else has any other questions for you tonight, if you would be willing to, I guess, share with everyone the best way they can help further your work moving forward, whether it's sharing your contact information again or pushing folks in the direction of just, can you share next steps for anyone that's interested?
Sure. So next steps are for you all to get your vaccines and to tell people you did. Don't get vaccinated quietly. Be really noisy when you do get vaccinated. And if you want to work with D1Can, you know, you can. The website I shared, I'll put it in the chat screen for everybody, because we are continuing this discussion, and we really think that neighborhood conversations are part of a comprehensive package to build confidence in first the flu vaccine, and then next year, if we build this strong enough, we can use the same neighborhood network to have these same conversations about COVID-19 vaccine. We hope we do get a safe and effective one. And thank you, Ariel. Well done, Ariel. Woohoo.
Well done indeed. Professor, thank you so much. I'm really glad you joined us.
Check out so you can go about your business.
Outstanding. Thanks again for joining us.
Bye.
Awesome. Yeah, if you haven't gotten a flu shot, get a flu shot. All right, next on our list of guest speakers, HCA board member Nick Frazone and Mark Edelson, I apologize, are going to talk to us about the upcoming election. Gentlemen, proceed.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Frazone. I'm your social media manager for the HCA. I'm also a member of the Democratic Central Committee for this area. As Nick said, my good friend and committee mate, Mark Edelson, is on the call as well. And we'll be talking about the election. Due to the pandemic, you have a lot more options to vote. If you have requested your mail-in ballot, you can either drop it in the mail, or you can drop it in any of the city ballot drop boxes. The closest locations are the Southeast Anchor Library and Patterson High School, which is on 100 Kane Street.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm coming to you live from the area that I like to think of as South Highlandtown. Others might think of it as Canton, but it's great to be your neighbor and great to be close to you, and great to be invited to your meeting. As Nick mentioned, there's a lot of different options for voting this time around. If you do not want to use a Lower Highlandtown, that too, Amanda. If you do not want to use a mail-in ballot, you can still vote in person this year. There will be early voting and election day voting. Early voting is going to start in a week. It runs from October 26th to November 2nd. For early voting, as it always is, you can vote at any Baltimore City early voting location. The closest early voting location to us is at the Southeast Anchor Library, right on the corner of Canton and Highlandtown. Polls will be open there from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., as I said, from October 26th to November 2nd. And then on election day itself, all of the early voting locations will be open, as well as a few other locations around the city. The closest election day polling locations are going to be that same Southeast Anchor Library. And then similar to the ballot drop-off location at Patterson High School on Kane Street, the locations will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. if you are in line at 8 p.m., you will be allowed to vote. So as long as you are in line to vote at 8 p.m., you will be allowed to vote. I would urge you to stay in line and vote no matter what time that happens, to perform your civic duty in what is no doubt one of the most, if not the most important election of our lifetime. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Nick for a critical closing thought.
Thanks, Mark. So remember that that Highlandtown 215 and Highlandtown 237 will be closed on election day. Also, you can register to vote at the early voting polls and the election day polls. All of this information is on highlandtown.com. Is there any questions? Let's look in the chat here.
I'll just put it out there that I dropped my ballot in the box at the Southeast Anchor Library, and I waited a week-ish, and I went on the election board website that I don't have in front of me to share, but I went on the election board website and I typed in my name, my address, and whatever other identifying questions they asked, and I found that it was, my vote had been received. So it's very, very easy to do that. It's easy to vote. It's easy to verify that it's been received. I've actually heard of people who have dropped it in a mailbox rather than in the ballot drop box, and checked it 4 days later, only 4 days, and it had gone through the postal system and been logged into the system. So it's actually performing very efficiently. So, you know, I would just urge everybody to, you know, consider that and to kind of share that information with other people. A lot of people are skeptical about mail-in voting, and not without reason. One of those reasons is that the process has been demonized, and we all listen to what we hear on the news. So, you know, it's good to see something function as it's supposed to function. And that's the side of it that you're not likely to hear. So just keep that in mind and go vote.
So I have to counter that for 1 second, because I actually, I had requested mine, and about, I believe it was September 29th, it showed up in my informed USPS email, and then the ballots never came. So I'm trying to figure out how we can get the ballots with the Board of Elections right now. But I do know that if your ballot does not come, you can go in person, but you have to fill out a provisional ballot, which means you have to fill out a form, then you vote, and then you have to sign in a certain number of spots. So when I get the heads up from the Board of Elections to see how we can get the ballots, if we don't want it to do the provisional, then I will push that out on all of our socials. And to Sean's question about the early voting date, it starts October 26th. So that's next Monday.
Yeah, and I'll just add onto what Nick had mentioned. I requested mine a while back. I still have not received it, but it states on the board's website that it has been sent to me. So for anybody in that same position, it is my understanding that you should not panic. The ballot is coming. There's just a lot of issues with the mail, and obviously a lot of people, thankfully, in our state requested mail-in ballots, and so it's taking a little bit of time, but we will all get them with ample time to cast our ballots before the election. The other thing is I'm going to put my email in the chat, because separately to my role on the District 46 State Central Committee, I'm also going to be one of the election day attorneys representing the City Board of Elections and State Board of Elections for any election day issues that come up. So if anybody sees any issues relating to vote related issues of any kind, you don't get your ballot, you have concerns about whether your ballot has been received, or frankly anything that concerns you relating to the election from a legal or voting standpoint, My email's in there. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll make sure that we address those concerns as well.
Cool. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Nick. Both of you guys. Great information. Thanks for all the work you do to ensure that we have a functioning democracy in Maryland. Way to go. All right, moving on. Amanda Smith-Peters is going to knock our socks off with updates about events, and I am going to screen share the first of two flyers in support of that aim. How do you like them apples, Amanda?
Thanks, Nick. I did not have time to make a presentation and send it in, mainly because this information comes to me hot off the presses, meaning we designed this flyer today or finished it. So we have a number of great events coming up in Highlandtown. The first, they're all happening on Halloween Day, on October 31st. So the first, and I want to also note that we took a long time to decide what to do, both Creative Alliance as well as the Highlandtown Business Association and the Main Street, because we really want to be safe with COVID. So all of our event information, we are planning events for October, November with Small Business Saturday, and December with the holidays. But we are going to be sharing it later in the season than you might typically see it, as we are finalizing all those details, and it just takes longer. So I appreciate your patience. So the first event is the virtual costume contest that's being sponsored by the Highlandtown Business Association and Main Street. We're working with our favorite folks over at Side A Photography, and they have helped us set up this QR code. It is active, but I do, if you want to take a, to use a QR code, you just take a picture, act like you're taking a picture, and it'll pop up the website. And so what we're doing is we're asking people in our community, families, adults, kids, pets, dress up, share your photo, and win some prizes. Do I know all the details of every prize that you're going to win? Not yet, but you'll just have to take a chance and enter. Anyone can enter. So what's nice is you could share this with your family in another state. But if they win, I'm not shipping the prize to them. This is a local contest. So happy to accept lots of entries, but we'd have to really coordinate those out-of-state prizes. So keep that in mind if you share this with your family members. But we'll have different categories. The board's going to vote after in the first week of November. So we'll let the HBA board help select the winners, and then we'll reach everyone via email. When you scan in when you go to this, it allows you to upload your photo, and what it'll do is ask for your email, and then that's how we'll contact everyone who is a winner. And the most important thing I just want to say is, please note, there will be no trick-or-treating at local businesses this year. We are not supporting trick-or-treating in person. It's really, it's just not safe. It's not recommended by the CDC, not the Community Development Corporation, but the Center for Disease Control. And so we really want to make sure that we're being safe. I just ask, especially those who do sharing and marketing in this group, please give me another day or two. We need to get our Facebook page up and on our website. And we wanted to bring it to you first. So we have the information here, but we'll need another day or two just to make sure all this is online. So, so just be patient with us, and you'll see us posted, and I'm sure I'll put it on the community page as well. So that's the first event I have for you that's happening all day on Saturday, October 31st. And then the next event is the Creative Alliance. So I have been given the blessing by Heather over at Creative Alliance, their marketing person, to share with you what's going on with the Lantern Parade. So if you switch flyers, Nick, that would be great. There are changes with the Halloween Lantern Parade. Going okay over there?
Yeah, do you not see the purple flyer?
I don't see it. Good thing I asked. I would have kept talking.
Okay, let's try again. Yeah, it should have been sharing the whole time. God knows what you guys saw. I hope it wasn't awful. Can you see that?
Oh, there it is. Yes.
Awesome.
So the Great Halloween, it also helps me to read the flyer a little, so I appreciate it. So the Great Halloween Lantern and Dia de los Muertos car parade, it's really a procession, is going to happen on Saturday, October 31st, 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Now, I don't know if you can zoom in at all on this flyer, but the parade procession, car procession, will start sort of similar to how they did the Parade of Latin Nations. We're going to line up. It's not as many cars. There's not hundreds of cars. Okay. We've got not as many. So be aware, but we're going to line up over near Walgreens down at Grundy and Eastern. And the parade will kick off there. It will drive down. They're not closing traffic. So it's just going to drive slowly down Eastern, turn on Conkling and head north toward the Conkling Street Garden. At the garden, there will be live music. When the live music is over, it won't be very long, so you got to catch it. Then the procession will keep moving back down Highland Avenue, down the rest of Eastern along the park, up and around the park, and back down at East and end at the Creative Alliance. So there is no grand finale. There's no giant place where everyone's gathering. What they're asking is that everyone, if you'd like to come out and see any part of the procession, please try to spread out along the parade route. Obviously, it'd be great to see some neighbors up at the garden. That would be a lot of fun. And I know that the Creative Alliance is working with the garden representatives to make sure that they have all of that figured out. One thing that I was asked to share is they are still in need of volunteers for the procession. So if you like to decorate, they have some decorating jobs. They have some hop in the back of a truck type jobs while the float goes down the street. So you can contact the Creative Alliance for more information. I think they have like an info at Creative Alliance. Yep, it's on there, info@creativealliance.org, and you can reach out to them if you're interested in volunteering. Again, I'm not sure of every detail they have, but they do, they are looking for volunteers. And again, please wear a mask and spread out along the parade route, and don't be afraid to tell your neighbors to also spread out. I also wanted to note in all these events during that day as well, because all this is happening on Halloween Day, Creative Alliance is also doing an online 11 a.m. Dia de los Muertos celebration. So if you really love Day of the Dead, or you have other neighbors or kids in the area that want to tune in and do something on Halloween, it'll be a little educational, a little fun, and it's great. It's put on by the Artesanas. So that'll be an online, all virtual event. So those are the events I have. And I also briefly wanted to mention, and then I'll take questions. I think we've mentioned a few of these before, but new businesses have opened in Highlandtown. So I think everybody saw Avenue Sushi open. That's been a while. Fruity Bar, Ice Cream and Deli has also opened a few doors up from Creative Alliance on Eastern Avenue at 3210. They've got ice cream, smoothies, fruit drinks. The owners are really nice. It's family owned. Stopped in there the other day, got something. And then the one I'm really excited about is Francesca's Empanada Shop has now opened, and I have eaten a lot of empanadas already. So what's great is she's got all sorts of flavors, and she's kind of in the phase, look, I'm telling you all this, even though I know you'll post it live, but if you've got feedback for her after you taste those empanadas, tell her. If you love them, if there's a flavor you want to see, like she really wants to hear from the community and wants everyone to be a part of her new shop. So, and that is at 428 Highland Avenue.
I've got to say, I've eaten there twice since last Monday when they opened, and it is fantastic. Like, it's really, really good.
Yeah. So, and they're fast, easy, delicious. It's my new go-to. I don't know when I'll get sick of the empanadas. So
yeah, the pupusas are fantastic. The best pupusas I've ever had also. So she's batting 1,000 in my book.
The other thing to keep in mind is she gets kind of busy. So make sure, I don't have the web information. We're going to do a post on Facebook, but if you get a chance, call ahead to order. And then that way it will be ready just in case there's a line, especially at lunchtime.
She's got like a barcode, or you can scan it with your phone, like on the window too. So that would make it easier to order also. That's how
Yeah, so, and also kudos to everyone with pets. And thanks to those who appreciate them in our shots. Any
Awesome.
other questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Amanda? Awesome. Well, thank you, Amanda. Also, something about a cat that I don't understand, but I'm guessing that you do.
I have a cat. That's it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it. There's a cat. There's another cat. Everyone's just shouting when they see a cat.
I'm like, if that's an empanada flavor, I don't want to know. Excellent. Okay. So moving forward, before we go to any representatives from elected officials that are in the audience, I would just like to give anyone who feels like they got missed or left out a chance to address the group. I've seen nothing in chat suggesting that's the case, but I just want anyone who feels like they have an announcement to make or that needs to be heard that is not representing an elected official, this would be your time to let us know. All right, looks like that isn't going to happen. Outstanding. All right, is there anyone in the audience who is representing an elected official? Should we start with Shannon Conway? Shannon, anything you'd like to add?
Hey guys, how are you?
Hi,
I just wanted to say that a lot of people probably already know this, but just to reiterate, the mayor's fall cleanup, which would have been scheduled for this Saturday, is canceled due to COVID. DPW is promoting instead a mask up, sweep up event and asking all neighbors to just, you know, sweep up and pick up along your alleyways, curbsides, front stoops, walkways. You know, stay socially distanced, wear a mask, but just, you know, clean up around your house instead of doing the big cleanup that was expected. And that'll be this Saturday, October 24th.
Awesome. Thank you, Shannon. Anything else you'd like to add?
That's it.
Awesome. Always great to hear from you.
You too.
Thanks. Next, let's see if we can move on to Juan. Juan, anything from Councilman Cohen's office you'd like to share? Or just talk more about empanadas because they're good.
Great. Appreciate the support you're all giving Francesca. For the office, really just been kind of trash related, you know, things. I've been in communication with Vanessa, Nick. I don't know if you can move with Brian. And so we just try to, you know, support, I think, Brian's vision of working together, creating a task force.
When you're fading like in and out, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Sorry, I got all these challenges. I got to switch over to laptop. But if you need to reach me, just check the chat box. We're good. Brian is good. Support you all with whatever cash issues you need. And anything else.
All right. Thank you, Juan, for that. We'll look forward to hearing more from you in our next meeting about trash stuff once we can continue the conversation about dumping and signage. I know that's been going on online, but thanks for that contribution. All right, so looking at our agenda and looking at the folks in the room, I'm not sure I see anyone else who is in the office of an elected official. Is there anyone else who would like to present updates or information? And it's looking like a no. So I don't have anything else on the agenda for tonight. And again, I just want to give everyone the chance to be heard. Is there anyone else who would like to present anything for the good of the order? Outstanding. Our next meeting will be on the third Monday of November, because it's already late October. That would be November 16th. If you would like to make a presentation or submit video to be shared in our next meeting, please reach out to highlandtown21224@gmail.com. or you can contact us through social media, where the incredible Nick Frazone will manage your inbound communications. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight, and just stay well in this strange time we're living in. Again, I think in the absence of any other agenda items, we will adjourn this meeting. Oh, wait, or not. Instead, let's see what Ann Sawyer is saying. Quick plug for volunteering at Breath of God. You should do that. Mark's a good guy and he needs all the help he can get. Go ahead, Ann.
No, just especially Thursday morning with the food prep. We used to have a bunch of people, but anyway, but anytime, yeah, it's a good thing to do.
All right, and since Catherine mentioned it, I'll just mention that I do in fact work at Meals on Wheels of Central Maryland. And one, we need all the help we can get packing meals, and two, we're looking at standing up a return to hot and cold meal delivery in January. And so if you have ever delivered meals from Meals on Wheels of Central Maryland, you will be getting a survey to find out if you are willing to resume doing that in this strange time we live in. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks for everything all of you do to make Highlandtown in specific and the world in general a better place. See you soon and have a great night, everyone.